ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. You're watching News and Current Affairs channel of Radio Pakistan's special podcast on the Kashmir Black Day. October 27 marks a very significant day in the history of Kashmir, as it is the day when the occupying forces entered forcibly into the territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the occupation begins. To deliberate more and to understand this historical oppression in its multiple dimensions, today we are joined by a very prestigious scholar and expert on the Kashmir affairs, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja. She is Executive Director, Center for International Strategic Studies. Madam, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Before we delve into detail, I would like to understand this for our generations, the younger generation which is growing, and we may not find those as much connected with this Kashmir struggle. So I would like you to please elaborate a little bit more on the key historical arguments and narratives that surround the Kashmir Black Day and how these particularly impact the current diplomatic efforts between India and Pakistan, given this Pahalgam fiasco and the Markai-Haq that ensued this false flag operation.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's a very important question you asked. And I think we need to share this event, this story with the youth of Pakistan so that they should know that the intense war fight for survival Pakistan has taken since the day Pakistan was established. 27th October is the day when Indian illegal occupying forces landed in Jammu and Kashmir. They used the pretext of the invitation by again another colonial occupant of Jammu and Kashmir, the Dogra Maharaja, that he invited them to land in Kashmir and occupy Jammu and Kashmir through force. So that is why we 27th October as the Black Day. Here it is again pertinent to mention that 24th October is Yom Tasis. That day is being celebrated because it was the day when the people of Jammu and Kashmir, while using their right to self determination, while using their right to choose what they want for themselves, declared that Kashmir would be part of Pakistan and declared the independence of Kashmir from the colonial occupants, the Dogra occupants. So 24th October is the day, the Yom Tasis, and 27th October, right after Kashmiris announced that they want to side with Pakistan, they want to be part of Pakistan, they want an independent of India and Dogra Maharaja, Jammu and Kashmir, the occupant forces of India were landed in Srinagar on 27th October 1947, unfortunately. But despite having all these problems of partition, all those, I would not use the term partition, and I encourage my students as well that there is no partition on 1947. It is actually the creation of Pakistan and India. So I feel as if partition is the wrong term to say anything like this, because the province Punjab was partitioned. Otherwise, the colonial occupants, the Britishers, didn't divided anything. Only Kashmir was partitioned and Punjab. So that term is not applicable on the creation of Pakistan and India on 14th and 15th August 1947. So, anyways, moving forward, Pakistan, despite having the problems Pakistan was facing, the refugees influx, the poor economy, the inefficient, sufficient military means, everything. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the father of Pakistani nation, he decided that Pakistan would fight back and would not accept the illegal intervention of Indian armed forces in Jammu and Kashmir as a norm, or would not accept it as a normal situation. And Pakistan would fight back and would help Kashmiri brothers to gain, to to safeguard their right to choose, their right to live as per their own will and wishes, and Pakistan would help them and the illegal occupation either by Dogra Maharaja or by the British colonial power. I feel that 27th October is actually the day, though it is a black day, but it is the day when the collaboration, cooperation, brotherhood between Pakistan and Jammu and Kashmir started. And that is why Sayyid Ali Gilani, the great Kashmiri leader, he stated that Pakistan is Kashmir and Kashmir is Pakistan. They both are indeed integral part of each other, and they both have to survive, rise together. And by all formulas of 1947 Radcliffe Award, any framework which was applied on dividing this region, that under that framework, Kashmir is should be part of Pakistan because Kashmir is a Muslim majority state. Here we all know that Indian RSS, the fanatic, the radical Hindus, they started genocide of Muslims in Jammu, and on 6th November we would commence the Jammu Martyrs Day on 6th November. So they started the massacre of Muslim population to change the demographic realities of Jammu. Fortunately, in the Kashmir Valley, they were not successful in doing that, but in Jammu, they killed 3 to 4 hundred thousand people, and they killed them only to make it a Hindu majority state. And that Hindutva mindset is being reflected even today in Modi's policies when they claim that now, the radical social media pages of Hinduism, they were celebrating the fact, the incident that the Diwali was celebrated in Srinagar in Lal Chowk. So this shows that how desperate Modi regime is to Hinduize the Muslim majority Jammu and Kashmir state. And this was the case was the same in 1947 when they started Muslim genocide to convert it into a Hindu majority state. So we need to understand it that occupation of Jammu and Kashmir is like an achievement for the Hindutva proponents. This feeling that they are occupying or ruling a Muslim majority state is it serves their false ego, serves their false sense of superiority based on white people and Hindu Brahmanism. That's Kashmir is the only Muslim majority state under illegal Indian occupation. No other Indian state has anywhere has Muslims in majority. So they feel, they think it waters their ego that Muslim majority Jammu and Kashmir, even after 78 years, is under their illegal occupation. But people's lives are more precious. People's lives are more important than the false egos of radical elements in any society. But unfortunately, Indian leadership is unable to realize that. Here, I would appreciate Manmohan Singh, the late Manmohan Singh, who was again from a minority group, but he tried to resolve Kashmir dispute with Pakistan. He tried to humanize the conflict with Pakistani counterpart General Pervez Musharraf, and he tried that there should be a permanent solution to that problem. The solution UN provided in 1948, even after accepting it as a legitimate solution to the problem. Nehru accepted it as a solution, and with his death in 1963, Indian government they refused to follow UN resolutions and apply them to resolve the conflict. So unfortunately, we are our enemy is very hostile, unable to give value to the lives and wishes of a common man, and they think that their Hindutva sense of superiority is more important for them than the lives of 3 generations of Kashmiris have been struggling for an free for their freedom. They are struggling. The first generation in 1947, most of them laid their lives for Pakistan. They were killed by Hindu radicals. And then they migrated from Jammu, especially, they migrated to Pakistan. Then the second generation, 1964, they started an armed movement, Kashmiris, to get rid of illegal Indian occupation. Then in 1989, the next generation restarted their struggle to get rid of Indian occupation. Then, this today's generation. So it is almost the fourth generation which is consumed by the hegemonic designs of illegal Indian occupant forces and government.
I think you have elaborated extensively on the historical facts and the struggle that speaks of the oppression, that speaks of the unilateralism and demographic and every sort of manipulation. And right from the beginning, we see the case of princely states has been contested, and two of the princely states' status had been resolved, but Kashmir remains the bone of contention. And immediately after the end of colonial rule in the subcontinent, the issue went to the United Nations. And as you have stated, that Pakistan has, effectively pleaded the case on every international forum, be it United Nations or be it any regional forum or regional space. What more steps do you think, or how would you reflect on the effectiveness of the resolutions or the international organization steps in this regard? What more steps do you think would effectively plead the cause of Kashmir's struggle?
Fortunately, again, our enemy doesn't have any, I believe, moral values. They promised at international forums several times after the success of different diplomatic missions that they would resolve Kashmir conflict, but they did not. For them, the peace talks, the conflict resolution processes, the diplomacy are means to avoid conflict resolution. For them, all such efforts to resolve conflict peacefully are only part of their time gaining strategy. If we see the history, even let's start from 1948 when UN passed this resolution, the UNSCR 48, to resolve Kashmir conflict. Nehru took 11 years after that to negotiate with Pakistani counterparts that how to implement UN resolution.
Mhm.
And if you see, and even Pakistani leadership at that time, even them under the hope that maybe these negotiations would open a door for the resolution of this problem, the Kashmir conflict, they were engaged. They kept themselves engaged with India to find a implementation plan, to develop an implementation plan to implement UNSCR 48 on the conflict of Jammu and Kashmir. So, after wasting 11 years with the demise of Indian Prime Minister Nehru, the new government in India, they said, they told Pakistan that we have nothing to do what Nehru has promised, and all his promised are gone to grave with him. So that was actually the time which was wasted. So in 1963, Indian government said this, or government retreated from all the achievements of Nehru regime. 1964, Operation Gibraltar started. I always say that Kashmiris opted armed struggle when Bharat or India made any peaceful process uh, i- unacceptable for the Indian leadership. They made the peace processes futile effort. Then the poor Kashmiris, the innocent Kashmiris, they were forced to choose the armed struggle to make their voices, make their desires acceptable for the international world and of course India. So 1964 Operation Gibraltar happened.
So
Then India started their nuclear program. India started the program to make Kashmir their integral part, that because if Pakistan may not have they thought that Pakistan may not have the strength to ever support Kashmir if India would be a nuclear country, and how a non-nuclear country would ever question the India that India should resolve the Kashmir conflict only to safeguard Kashmiris, only to make India realize that nuclear technology or being nuclear doesn't mean that Pakistan would not talk about India. So, nuclear aspirations of India cannot make India a legitimate owner, occupier of Jammu and Kashmir. So, finally, in 1989, the third Intifada in Kashmir started when Kashmiris saw that after 64, the Simla Agreement, in Simla Agreement, again India promised to Pakistan that we will resolve Kashmir conflict and all other unresolved disputes through bilateral negotiations. It is written in similar agreements that Pakistan and India would find a way to implement UN resolutions on Kashmir. Then again, there were no development in this regard. So in 1989, Kashmiris again chose armed movement. Peace processes during Musharraf regime, they again took 11 years. People say who were part of those negotiations that the resolution was very close when again BJP came into power and all peace process was derailed. All the time which was invested in peaceful resolution that was wasted, and that is when the Kashmiris like the educated Kashmiris like Afzal Guru, like Burhan Wani, like several other educated Kashmiri youth opted for armed struggle. And the irony is, the saddest part of this is that Indian leadership, to fool their own public, they don't admit that this young, educated Kashmiri youth is choosing the armed struggle because India is an illegal occupant of Jammu and Kashmir. Because in 78 years, India is unable to convince Kashmiris that they accept Indian occupation as a norm.
Hmm.
So that is why the Kashmiri youth is going for armed struggle.
I would like to, inject another, dimension to this whole situation, as you're saying that, there's an occupation forces and there's a disregard of international law and all those things. If we try to have a comparative analysis between the regions that were marred by conflict or subjugation or oppression, as recently we see the Chinese people celebrated their victory, the people's struggle against the Japanese aggression. Um, can we draw any parallels and contrasts between these two struggles, and what lessons can we learn from this?
In conflict studies, we say that conflicts have similarities,
Mhm.
but they are unique in nature. So I believe the way Kashmiris are suffering, are victim of Indian atrocities, violence for last 78 years, every day should be celebrated to salute their bravery and their determination that they don't want India as their country. They don't think they belong to India. You know, when during this last armed intifada in Kashmir, when people like Burhan Wani were opted, or several other doctors, engineers opted for armed struggle, people say, the analysts say that those people went to India, those freedom fighters, and they saw that how dignity of common Indian is being respected in larger India. And then in occupied Kashmir, they've been treated like goats. They have been treated like animals, the Kashmiri youth. They are not respected by the occupying forces. And that is the point where they realize that they also want a dignified life like other people living on the other parts of the world. So this is where this starts. And you see, India always threatens Pakistan that if Pakistan wants to ensure its survival and sovereignty, Pakistan should give up on Kashmir. And I would acknowledge that Pakistan, under any circumstances, whether it is economic stress, military stress, internal instability, whatever problem Pakistan is suffering from. Pakistan never gave up on Kashmir under any circumstances for anything. For last 78 years, Pakistan's commitment for Kashmir is unshakable. India, even always Indian scholars, they say that, oh, Pakistan doesn't have enough food to eat, or this problem or that problem, and still they side with Kashmiris, and they support Kashmiri's stance on Kashmir conflict, and that says a lot about Pakistan's political will to solve Kashmir problem, and Pakistan's capabilities to stand with Kashmiris. Here I would say that you have seen that recently in May 2025, the whole world has seen that Pakistan didn't accept the violation of line of control by India under any notion.
Yeah.
They attacked on a mosque in Muzaffarabad and few other locations. They violated international borders, yes, in Bahawalpur and other areas. But Pakistan did not accept it.
Pakistan, in emerging as a net stabilizer post this Pahalgam false flag operation and Markai
Of
Haq
course,
under Banyan Marsoos, Pakistan's diplomatic strength is fortified, as well as its security and strategic
yeah.
significance is also improved in the world. What impact do you
Yes,
see, especially of Pakistan and the Saudi Arabia's strategically mutual defense agreement reshaping the regional dynamics in this landscape?
easiest way would be Pakistan not speaking for Kashmir. But the difficult way was to stand by our Kashmiri brothers, to become their voice, give them audibility so that our Muslim brothers can have that privilege which all other Muslims of subcontinent had when Britishers left and conducted referendums and asked their will. Number one. In Operation Markai Haq, Pakistan clearly stated that whether it is LOC, whether whatever is the cost, India was threatening us with nuclear and all those things. Pakistan said, whatever is the cost, we will not leave our Kashmiri brothers alone. And we reiterated, we re-practiced it in latestly in 2025. And then when a Muslim is brave, Allah also becomes his power. And that is the point where Pakistan became a stabilizer, and I would call net security provider.
Yeah.
This is the tagline which India wanted to have. Indian allies, Indian well-wishers, they used to call India as the net security provider. But fortunately, this title has been now is being used for Pakistan. Pak saw the defense pact,
Yes.
the defense agreement.
Cherry on the top is President Trump's support in this all matter and his resolve to, resolve this Kashmir conflict and have that freedom struggle reach to their logical conclusion. How, discerning it is for India in this situation.
Yeah. See, firmness of President Trump, conviction of President Trump, that reflects upon that how incompetent, how irrational policy processes in India are. How incompetent Indian forces were during Operation Banana Marsoos. India want USA to bet on India to safeguard the interests of America vis-a-vis China, right?
Right.
But Operation Banyanul Marsoos Markai have proved that India is not even capable of dealing with Pakistan militarily. So China is another level. China is the biggest, largest military of the world. So that is the point where India made itself a really bad bet for the USA. So this is how President Trump's whole, I would say, tone and everything for India was changed. Then second thing is, Indian PM Modi, his habitual to of not following the statements he made, for not fulfilling the commitments he has done. So Indian PM Modi did the same game with the US president, and US president, and as we know in Europe, everyone, mostly people, don't have tolerance for such a non-professional attitude at state level. So
Right.
that also paid back to them. The other thing is the radical thoughts of or policies of Modi regime.
Right.
Modi regime started killing people across the borders. Modi regime is involved in killings of those people who don't support Indian government, like our Sikh brothers, like Kashmiri brothers, so all those things. And when I'm sure you know that the intelligence agencies of the USA, Australia, Canada, they conducted a collective investigation, and it was noticed that the Indian government is involved. And when they were inquired about it, Indian government said, "Oh, it was a rogue element, Indian intelligence, who conducted those mass murders." So all those things, Indian national community, international governance don't buy such ideas. So those as ideas are not acceptable. So India said Pakistan is involved in supporting terrorism, and India used that as a premise to start their Operation Sindoor.
Dr. Saiba, how
So,
important it is for the
so
country to not stand on the wrong side of the history, as we understand, with each passing year, with each passing milestone, India is carving a very rogue name for itself in the whole world. And we also understand the diplomatic support by the nations is very important. The clearest example in this regard we can understand from the China's principal stance regarding One China policy, and how it has garnered support over the years from Latin American countries to sub-Saharan African regions and African countries at large, as well as in the European region as well. So how important is this diplomatic win by the Kashmiris and Pakistanis in establishing the legitimate right of the Kashmiris to self-determination?
yes, number one, this India's I would say false, irrational, unethical demand or allegation that Pakistan supports terrorism, terrorist networks, didn't pay back well to India. Pahalgam, despite having Pahalgam operations, Indian government was unable to answer the questions raised by Indian opposition in Indian parliament. Indian government even, they were not ready to call for the meeting of Indian parliament because they were unable to answer the questions.
Right.
Then they could not answer the questions raised by Indian intelligentsia, their scholars, international community, UNO. Despite sending diplomatic missions across the globe, the Indian government was only able to seek support from Israel. No other country stated anything in support of Indian stance. But you have seen that Pakistan, number one, because of Operation Marka, world now know that Kashmir conflict is real. Kashmir conflict is not on this back burner.
So,
Kashmir conflict still has potential
uh-huh.
to, to bring the whole world on nuclear holocaust.
Yes.
Indian government right now, the radicals, the Hindu radicals in Indian government, they are a threat to international peace and security. Those are the same people who fired nuclear capable BrahMos missile on Pakistan in April 2022, and later on said that, oh, the rogue elements in Air Force did that. So Indian government, Modi government, has gradually lost all its credibility in international media, in international arena. This and mark my word, this Saudi-Pakistan Defense Pact. Through this pact, Saudi Arab has become supporter of Pakistan on Kashmir dispute, and now Saudi Arab has become a stakeholder in peace and stability in Pakistan. So if any country, including India, would do any effort compromise to undermine peace and stability in Pakistan, there would be more stakeholders in it than India could imagine. And that reality is unacceptable for them because, as per Indian strategic culture, alliances are part of their war strategy. And right now, Pakistan has made very good alliances, which are nightmares for India. As Indian PM to celebrate the Diwali said that Pakistanis are really afraid of Vikrant, their naval warship. No, sir. Pakistanis are not afraid of Vikrant warship, but India is afraid of Pakistan's positioning, relocation, geopolitical relocationing in international politics. India is afraid to see that how efficient and sufficient Pakistani armed forces are to safeguard Pakistan and to support our Kashmiri brothers.
As we speak of the developmental challenges, we also understand that whenever there is some natural calamity, it has become also, the common knowledge that gender aspect is included to every developmental issue. How do you see the impact of conflict on this gender disparity, and particularly on the vulnerable communities in this occupied territory?
This is a very interesting question. You know, the famous poet of Kashmir during ancient times or in Kashmiri culture is a Kashmiri woman, Hiba Khatun. So her poetry is part of folk poetry in Kashmir, in Kashmiri language. When I visited Azad Jammu and Kashmir, for me it was a pleasant surprise that there were tombs of Kashmiri women who were saint women. In any other part of Pakistan, I haven't seen female saints and their tombs. But you know, the pain, and this is a universal phenomenon, I would say. The pain of Kashmiri women who are victims of Kashmir conflict, but they are survivors of Kashmir conflict, have lost their husbands, their brothers, their fathers, their childhoods because of the atrocities of Indian military and government.
Approach to the end of this podcast, I would like to draw your attention to some of the shared developmental challenges. For example, both Pakistan and India are very vulnerable to the climate change as well. Similarly, there are other issues. As recently, we have seen the issue of Indus Waters Treaty remains a very livid kind of a live kind of an issue between the two nations. So on this Black Day, how do you see the future, the shared future, the prospects for the shared future, and what would you suggest in this regard?
If we see what is happening across the globe, regionalism, yes, it is very effective for sustainable development. In the context of South Asia, without sustainable resolution of Kashmir conflict, no, it is not possible. If the South Asia region wants to be developed, wants to see peace, wants to be acknowledged as a civilized region of the world, all the leadership, the statecraft, they have to resolve Kashmir conflict peacefully. The will, wishes, desire of Kashmiris, which are unshaken since 1947, they should be addressed and their demands should be fulfilled if we want a secure and prosperous South Asia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja, the Executive Director, Center for International Strategic Studies. It has been really insightful to gain your valuable experience and expertise and perspective on this burning issue on this Black Day. That's all from our side, viewers from Radio Pakistan's News and Current Affairs Channel's podcast.
Thank you.
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।